Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome to my YouTube channel if you've actually never seen any of the other videos I've done, which have only been 2 because I'm pretty new to this. I've not done any videos for a while because what a time we are living in right now. I wanted to come on and do this video about a specific subject which is a big part of my life, has been a big part of my life, and I had every intention of doing this video a couple of weeks ago when I was actually at that real moment in my life, because I thought it would be best to talk about it then. Anyway, all of this coronavirus stuff happened and it's just been absolutely mental and slightly crazy, and been really difficult to find the time to kind of sit down and record this video. So I already know, I think, that this is going to be quite a bit of waffle, and it might evolve. It might have started as a video about something and it might evolve into a video about something else, but we'll go with it. We'll just go with it and we'll see. So if you can hear clanging, it's because I've got big buttons on my top and they're clanging on my bed frame. So what I was going to originally talk to you about was something that's been a huge part of my life, that I felt that I really wanted to share, because when I first realised that I had this problem was quite a few years ago, and there was no internet, there was no forums, there were no chat kind of places to express, there was no Instagram, there was just no nothing to talk about the problems that I had and that I was feeling. And when I talk about that, I basically mean homesickness. For as long as I can remember, I have suffered with severe homesickness. And this goes right back to, you know, when I was really young. I wouldn't stay at anybody's house from when I was at primary school. I would always have to ring my parents to come and pick me up. It got to the night time and it got to the time when we were about to sleep and stay over, and my mind would just go crazy and I just needed my parents and I needed to be home. It's followed me all through my life, if I'm honest. I think when I really started to appreciate that it was a problem was probably not in secondary school years, which is when you think it would be, because I missed out on quite a lot. I missed out on ski trips and things that my brother went on that I just could never go on because of the way that I was feeling, but I didn't genuinely feel like I missed out on those. I didn't have that real yearning to want to do those, so it didn't really hit me, I don't think, that I had an actual problem with this until probably late teens, early 20s, when I wanted to go away with friends and I realised that this could be a massive issue for me and I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. It stopped me from going on holidays. It stopped me, probably more so, it stopped me going when my friends did stuff in London. They'd go to London for friends' birthdays and they'd go out clubbing, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't go and stay. I couldn't be away from home. It was a huge issue for me. And it was really difficult back then because, like I said, there was no internet, there was no help. And for me back then, it felt like it was something to be really ashamed of. I had a situation where everybody else loved going on holiday, loved going away, loved staying away. Their dream holidays would be my nightmares. You know, I just, the thought of it just made me physically sick. So I guess let's go back to when it started to get really bad. I think I probably came out of it a little bit in my early 20s. I went to Greece with a group, sorry, sniffing a lot, with a group of best friends. We went away to Zakynthos, and I was so terrified going. It was just all building up in my stomach. I just knew that I wasn't going to cope. Anyway, we got there, and if my memory serves me right, the first night we were there and darkness fell, which is when it always strikes up with me. Darkness fell, I just had the best night. We had an amazing time. And I think I might have even said to the girls, oh my God, I don't feel like I miss home. I don't feel anything. I feel absolutely fine. And that kind of went on through the whole holiday. We then went back to that same place for another 2 years. And I think because there was a familiar, I can't say that word, because it was familiar, I didn't feel those feelings again. It was good. I had 3 great holidays there. For me, the big turn was I was in a relationship from the age of 20 to, oh my goodness me, I want to say maybe 28. It's a long time I was in a relationship, serious relationship, and we went away to Benidorm, Paradise Central, Benidorm, out of season. The weather wasn't great. There was not much to do because the weather wasn't great. A lot of the places were closed. And I remember one specific time or night when the weather was rubbish and I just wanted to go upstairs and read my book, and he actually wanted to stay downstairs and drink in the bar with a chap that he'd met down there. He wasn't very good at taking his drink. He would always, generally, if he had a bit too much to drink, he would throw up, and that would be his reaction, was to be sick. And I think he left me up there for a good few hours on my own. I eventually got fed up and I went downstairs, and yeah, he was just absolutely, he was wasted. He was pretty much gone. And immediately my stomach started to churn and the panic started rising in my chest. And I knew I couldn't cope. I just couldn't cope with it. We tried to go out for dinner and relax me, and I just couldn't. I just cried and cried and cried. I was ringing my parents. Luckily enough, on that holiday, it was only, I think, probably about 2 or 3 days before we came home. And I wasn't great for the last 3 days, but I managed it because I knew that I was coming home. Came home. I go through this cycle where when I'm at home, I feel safe. So what do? We book another holiday, and we booked to go to Zakynthos, where I went with my friends, because I thought, I've been there, I know it, I will be fine. I think I was fine for probably 2 days, if that, maybe 1 day. Even then, at night time, when it got dark, I get like, this feels really strange, I get butterflies in my bottom, and I start to feel sick, and I start to feel like I need the toilet, and panic just starts to rise, and I can't push it down, I can't suppress it, and that's where it comes from for me. So probably 2 days into this holiday, I started to get those feelings really badly, and I couldn't eat anything, I couldn't drink anything. I was trying to be sick, but I couldn't be sick because there was just nothing in me. I was really, really poorly. My poor parents through all this, it just, being a mum myself now, being a parent myself now, I understand how hard this must have been. It must have been so hard to get a phone call from your daughter, who is on a 4-hour flight away, desperately want to help her but not being able to help her. It just is, you know. They told me at the time that my dad was on a standby flight to come out. I now know that wasn't true. They said that just to try and calm me down, just to see if I could get through the week, knowing that there was an option, and I couldn't. And in the end, we went to the local doctor, and the doctor there said, "You need to go home. I'm gonna write out a note, and you need to take this to your rep and book on an early flight home." And I think we came home 2 days earlier than normal. And then I think when I got home from this holiday was when I realised that this was a massive problem. And this, if I didn't get control over this, if I didn't try and understand it, it would hamper me for the rest of my life, and it would stop me doing some amazing things for the rest of my life. So I then went online, and I never thought to do this. I'd never thought to sit down and actually see if anybody else suffered from what I suffered from, because I felt massively alone. I felt really, I just felt like nobody understood how it felt and what I was going through. And so I just thought, well, there's going to be nothing online, because nobody has ever had adult homesickness. You know, they get over it when they grow up. Nobody's ever had this. There's no point looking. And I thought, do you know what? Just have a look. Just sit down and just have a look. And I did, and it just blew my mind. It made me, oh my gosh! I just thought, I am not the only person who suffers with this. And for me, that was like hearing music in my head. I didn't feel like such an idiot anymore. You know, I didn't feel stupid for the way that I felt. And I later found out that actually one of my good friends from school suffered with exactly the same thing. She struggled with exactly the same thing. And I can't remember how we started chatting about it actually, but she recommended that I go and see a homeopath. Money was always an issue for me. We've never been not strapped for cash, sorry, we've never been flush with money, with cash, and seeing a homeopath was £60 for the first session and then additional money after that, and I just thought, oh my gosh, I can't afford this. This is going to be so much money. Anyway, I did it. I sat down with my mum and dad and we chatted and we said, look, you just need to try this. We have to try it. So I did. I took myself off there. Oh, actually no, we'd booked a holiday. I never learned. Do you know why I never learned? Because I would come home from holiday and I would feel safe and I would feel so happy, on top of the world, that I was at home. I mistook that feeling of happiness for, I want to go on holiday again, which seems crazy to think that, but that's where my mind went. So I was safe at home booking a holiday and I knew that I was going to have a time of my life. We started to come up close to the holiday and I realised that actually I was really going to struggle. So I booked in to see a homeopath and I went to see her, and again I think I was probably a bit foolish in thinking that she would be able to click her fingers and I would be fine. I came out of there feeling so much worse than I did when I walked in, and that's because when you go to something like that, they open everything up. They open every wound you ever had up, because they're trying to claw down and get to the bottom of why you are feeling the way you're feeling. So I sat there and we talked about everything, and if I can remember, what amazed me was we did get down to the bottom of the reason I feel like I feel, and it was a mixture of two things. It was a mixture of, when I was younger and I was in primary school, I can't say I went through this actually, because I probably didn't go through this, but there was a horrific accident that happened where a young girl got off of our school bus, and I don't think I was on the school bus at the time. I think maybe it was one of the days that my mum worked there as a dinner lady, and so we got a lift home with her. Maybe I know I definitely wasn't on the bus at the time. Pretty sure I wasn't. She got off the bus and she either ran in front of the bus or behind the bus in front of a car with bull bars, and she got knocked over. And it was just right at the start of the summer holidays, and we were going on holiday pretty soon after, so we heard the horrific news, and she was in hospital and she was very, very poorly. And we went on holiday, and then when we were picked up from holiday, my granddad picked us up. Granddad, I never call him granddad, Gramps, picked us up from the airport and brought us home. And in the car, he told us the news that unfortunately she died. And chatting to the homeopath, my main fear of going on holiday and being away from my loved ones was that something would happen to them when I was away, and I couldn't get back to them, or I couldn't deal with it because I was away, and I wouldn't see them again because I was away. So that was one thing, and then the second thing was that was something to do with, I think it was drunk people, which stems back to what triggered it the second time, when I thought I went through the good stint of being fine and then I went on holiday with my ex. and he got drunk and he was violently ill, because I feel that when people are drunk, they aren't in control of their body. And if I'm in a situation where I don't know my surroundings, I don't know where things are, I don't know a lot of people around me, if somebody is that drunk that they don't know how to control themselves, I then start panicking and getting bad, call it bad. So we came to those two conclusions. Now this was, I think it must have been like 2 days before we went to Portugal. We were going to Portugal, and we were going, it was me and my ex, and we were going with my mum and dad because we thought that would be a good way to test if I could even go away with family, because I was that bad at that point. And I remember the following day still feeling like I couldn't go. And I remember being really honest with my mum and saying, I can't do this, I just can't do this, and breaking down to tears. And mum and dad saying, right, well, you need to make a decision then. Are you coming or are you not coming? And I made the decision there and then, I'm not coming. The homeopath had spoke to me, sorry, didn't finish that story. She'd given me some homeopathic tablets that you just pop one under your tongue, which is apparently the biggest vein in your body, if I'm getting that right. Pop it under your tongue, you let it dissolve, and you take one of those once a week. And she gave me 4. And she said to me at the time, I know that you don't want to go away on holiday, but you will never know if this is something that works for you unless you go and try it. So I thought, right, okay, I'm going to need to give this a go. Following day I still couldn't, so I'd made the decision, I'm not going. And the relief, I just can't even explain how I felt. I was on top of the world because the fear had gone. Anyway, we woke up the next day, and I woke up the next morning feeling fresh as a daisy, and I trundled downstairs. My mum was hanging washing out. We weren't catching a flight until later on, and I said to my mum, I want to go. And I remember my mum going, oh my goodness me, go and speak to your dad. That's what she said, go and tell your father. So I walked upstairs, and I'm half expecting Dad to go, oh my goodness me, will you just make up your mind? I walked upstairs and said, Dad, I want to try it, I really want to give this a go. And he was like, right, okay, great, pack your suitcase then, let's do this. So me and my ex and my mum and my dad that night flew to Portugal. I had Rescue Remedy in my bag, I had my tablets on me, and I can't even tell you how much of a game changer that holiday was for me. It was incredible. When I got there, I had a bit of a wobble, but managed to kind of control myself with just some deep breathing and having one of the tablets. And then I had the most amazing holiday and the most amazing week. I had another wobble in the middle of the week where, funnily enough, we walked past somebody who was really, really drunk and was wobbling all over the place, and I started to feel the panic rising in my body, couldn't really suppress it. And then we went and sat down to eat at a restaurant, and a huge iguana was just like, it wasn't even an iguana, that's ridiculous, it was just a little lizard. It wasn't even huge. It probably blew my head at that point. I thought it was a crocodile, but a lizard was walking around the restaurant, and it just took my mind to a different place, and I wasn't thinking about what had happened before. It sorted me out, and then for the rest of the holiday I was absolutely fine. So that, in a nutshell, is my story of my homesickness. I still have it now, and the reason I wanted to do this video is because a couple of weeks ago I had to go away to do some training for work, and this training had to be up by Heathrow, staying in a hotel right by Heathrow, and attending the animal centre at Heathrow, where the basically any animal that comes in, that is flown in to the country, stays there, goes through the checks there before they are then sent on to where they've got to go or picked up by an owner. So we would be going there, And I was really nervous. I've never been away. I've not really had a homesickness issue with Chris. I feel safe with my now husband. I feel really safe with him. I'm always his priority, and he's so understanding. He gets that I have this problem, and it's never a problem for him. He just wants to look after me and make sure I'm safe and well. So there was that. There was that I wasn't going to see him, which was a huge thing for me. And then also it was the longest I would have ever been away from Holly. The most I've probably been away from Holly is for 2 days, but then that was with Chris. I've never been away from him for you know, I say never, but since we moved in together, we haven't been away from each other really for longer than a night, 2 nights maybe, 2 nights probably on my cousin's hen do. So it was a big thing, and we got to the week before and it became an even bigger thing because of coronavirus. And it transpired that we were probably going to the epicenter of coronavirus. I think the Friday before we went, we'd had the announcement from Boris Johnson that we needed to, where possible, work from home. And we went on the Sunday night. We were a little bit like, is this course on? Is this not on? Should we even be going there? We're going to a hotel, we're staying in a hotel and going to be eating at the restaurant of the hotel, all that mess. On top of that was oh my gosh, you can't do this. And if you can't do this, there's nobody here to help you. There isn't your mum, there isn't Chris, who actually is going to help you with this problem that you have. And that was just rising and rising and rising, and it was taking so much to try and push it down. I've since, so I'm chopping and changing a bit, I hope this is not confusing. Since the whole homeopathic remedy stuff, I found that Neil Jard did some homeopathic remedies, and they were a lot cheaper. They were £5 for a whole tub of them. So I tried to match my symptoms as specifically as I could to some Neil Jard stuff, and I found out, I think it's Ignatia that I take. Now, I don't think Neil Jard do them anymore, so I'm sorry if I'm telling you stuff that you can't get anymore. But Ignatia, if anybody finds anywhere, I'll try and have a look, and I'll pop a link in the descriptions box if I can find any. And I'll also have a look at some useful websites that I found, or forums that I found where other people talk about this. And I'll pop them in the description box as well if this is resonating with anybody, and that would help, then great. So I took my Ignatia with me a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, right, I'll be fine, I'll take things from home. We went to Longleat, which is, we live near Longleat, and we went there for the Saturday before we went away, and Chris and Holly bought me a little present. They bought me a koala bear to take away with me, which I thought was really cute. So I had my koala bear, I took my pillow, I took things that I would feel comfortable with being away with, knowing that they remind me of home, or they smell like home, which is weird stuff, isn't it? But I made sure I had my iPad. I made sure I'd kind of stocked up a load of stuff that I could watch on Netflix, so I could just try and shut my mind off at night time, which is when it's worse. In fact, it's not. It's when it only ever comes is when it's night time for me. So I did all those things. But yeah, didn't realise how tricky it would be with coronavirus. So we got there on the Monday. We went straight to the animal centre, which is where we had our training. We had our first day of training, and then we went back to the hotel. And very quickly things started to ramp up. So that Monday night was the announcement from Boris Johnson that you must stay at home where possible. People in the vulnerable category especially, which I was one of them as an asthmatic. I'm classed as vulnerable. So for us it was like, what is going on? I mean, it was just the most surreal time, the most intense week, and I had every intention of filming this video from the hotel, but I just didn't get a chance, because by the time we'd finished the training, we'd come back, we'd watch the daily update from Boris Johnson, we'd catch up with husbands and families, we'd go down, have dinner, we'd come back up. There just wasn't really any time. But what I am most proud of from that week, from the Sunday night, when I was dreading going the following morning, to the, I think Monday night I had a bit of a wobble, and I was a bit wobbly on the Monday night, but I spoke to Chris for about an hour on the phone, and it just calmed me straight down. I then went to bed. I didn't sleep very well at all until the final night when I was coming home the next day. But it was okay, because even though I wasn't sleeping, I didn't have panic. So I was waking up in the middle of the night. It was frustrating that I couldn't sleep, but I wasn't panicking. I didn't have that rising panic. I didn't have that terrified feeling. So I'm just so proud of myself. But getting through that week, that wasn't just a hard week. Ordinarily that would be a hard week for me, but it was a hard week in one of the most impossible weeks ever that we've probably ever had, because we came home on the Friday. On the following Monday we were on lockdown. So we were in that week where Boris Johnson was having a daily update with everybody, where we were told the schools were going to be closing. So there was all this going on. We were thinking, you know, I was there with a colleague who had kids at school, who has a very vulnerable husband. My child goes to nursery. So there was just all of these kind of questions that we were trying to figure out. What's happening with work? When we go home, I'll obviously be working from home because I'm classed as vulnerable, but how is that going to work with my childcare? All of this stuff was going on, whilst in the back of my head I was also trying to have to deal with the fact that I'm not at home right now. So I had so many triggers, yet nothing triggered me. I'm still trying to figure out why. Whether it's because I'm now a mum, and this is one piece of advice my mum told me when I used to really, really struggle with all of this stuff. My mum said to me, and I can remember crying, sitting on a bed and crying with her and saying, when will I not feel like this anymore? And my mum said that she used to struggle a little bit with it. I don't think it was as severe as my issue. And she said to me, when you become a parent, when you have kids, and you are not your first priority anymore, that is when it will subside. And that was kind of ringing in my head when I was away, because I was thinking, maybe that's it. Maybe there's so much going on at the moment. I have to focus on whether my husband's going to be okay and my girl's going to be okay, and focus on what we're going to have to sort out when we get back, when we get home, what we're going to have to do, the changes we're going to have to make. So maybe that's what helped me get through the week. I don't know. Who knows? If this wasn't all going on, then maybe I would have been worse. But I think I'm just immensely proud of what I did, how I managed in that week to get through, because lots of people who possibly are watching this who know me know that my homesickness is bad. It's really bad. And there have been specific triggers all through my life which have made it spike and then calm down and then spike and then calm down. And I just feel at the moment that it's on a real nice calm, which is amazing. So I guess that's kind of just what I wanted to talk about. And I so wanted to do this video because I understand how hard it is to hate something that most people love. Going on holiday is a luxury for a lot of people, whereas for me, it was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare, and the lack of understanding I would get from people when I was honest about it, and people would say, "But you don't like going on holiday?" And I'd be like, "No, I don't. I'm really sorry." And all you'd get back was, "Are you mad? Are you crazy?" And it made me feel so small, and it made me feel really stupid. And it made me feel ashamed of what I was feeling at the time and what I was going through. And I just feel like nobody should feel ashamed of how they're feeling. If you feel something, then you feel it. And it's all about gathering tools to be able to cope with those feelings. And I guess that's why I'm putting this video out and being as honest as I am, because it's a real feeling. It's a really hard one. But I want to say to everybody who maybe is watching this and thinks, oh my gosh, I so know where you're coming from. I get it. And don't be ashamed of it. There are thousands of people who feel the same way that you do. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just about finding those people who can help you deal with it and can help you suppress those feelings. Because I don't think it ever goes away. I will suffer with this for the rest of my life, but it's about me finding the ability and the tools to be able to push those feelings down and cope with it moving forward. So yeah, that's what I wanted to come and chat to you about. Bit of a raw video, bit of a lots of sharing video. I'm really sorry if it was waffly and we went to and from, but it's been the weirdest of weeks, really the weirdest of weeks. So please, if you've watched this video, if you like it, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing. I'm going to try and do videos on a weekly basis. She's so busy at the moment, and I'm hugely busy at the moment, which is only going to get worse. Anyway, yeah, sorry, subscribe, give it a thumbs up. I'd love you to leave me a comment if this is really rung true with you. I'm on Instagram if anyone wants to follow me on Instagram as well. I don't really talk much about this kind of thing on Instagram, but I'm willing to, if anybody wants to message me, have a chat, then yeah, do. And like I said, I'll try and leave some links in the description if I can find some good websites. The ones I found years and years and years ago, I'm not sure I'd be able to find now, but there's probably loads more stuff out there now. So I will leave a link to all those in the description box below. And I will try and see if I can find some of those Neil's Yard stuff or the equivalent. Apologies if I can't, but if you're suffering with what I suffer, then please, please, please share. Good luck with it. You're not alone.